And we are live. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and watching another episode of Dan-A-Plooza. My guest at this time is author Layla Omorose. Thank you for joining our show.
Thanks for having me, Dan, the man.
You are welcome. So, for those watching and future watching, Layla is an author, and her books are available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. And I have one of them here right now. It is called The Dark Knight, Dawn of the Red Sun. This is the second book of the volume series. So, as you can see, lots to read and to enjoy. So go ahead and support your local authors and purchase a book today.
Yeah. It's really good. Not to my own horn.
that is my plug segment. I like to plug all this stuff in. So did you always know that you wanted to be an author?
Not a yes and no. So I always loved reading, although in the beginning it wasn't my choice. I blame this on my grandmother, so she's the one that started all of this. And what she used to do is when we were younger, she would make us read in the backyard during vacation. Like she'd make us read, and we'd have to. She, have a bunch of books. We pick it out, and we'd have to tell her what happened in the book. Took me years to realize, though, she's never read any of these books, so I could allow it. But no, I read all of them, and so that's what started it. And then I wrote my first book, which I will never show to the public, in junior high school. And I let my junior high school English professor read it, teacher read it. And God bless him. His name was Mr. Goncher. And he was like, this is great. Keep and stuff like that. Now I look back and realize, he was just feeding into my my little hopes and dreams because it was not great.
Right.
And then so I kept writing, and then life happened after that. And then I didn't write. I forgot about writing. I was still reading though. I just forgot about writing. And then I picked it back up and published my first one when I was in college. And so I guess the answer to that is yes, I guess. So that was my long explanation as to how I got into it.
You eventually came full circle. I have yet to read, but it is on for when I go on vacation. This will be coming with me, so I will let you know exactly what I think about this. And I look forward to reading this. So normally, have you gotten any feedback from your books? Have the viewers reached out to you, and how have their responses been?
Occasionally, not necessarily for that book. It's usually for Seducing the Black Prince and my Hound series. And I figure that's mainly because those two series are more paranormal romance, and the Fae series reads more like a action adventure or RPG type of book. And I wrote that purposely like that. So I think that's probably why. But I do get feedback. I actually, the feedback amuses me, whether it's good or bad, because a lot of the times, I remember like one reviewer, she personally attacked me, so they get a little upset about that. And she called my one of my books POS because she read up to chapter 5 in my Eternal Light, and she didn't like the way the main character was acting. And because my books, for the most part, even though they're paranormal, they got real issues. Rated Eternal Light, he was a whore. That's how I wrote him. He was not a nice guy. And so he was sleeping with other women, even though he had met his mate, but he wasn't in love with her, and he was in denial. So that's what that was. And so she got it, and she got to like chapter 5, and she's like, "Oh, this book is garbage. The author's garbage. I hate it." And she left a 1-star review, but I'm like, "You didn't even finish it." To know that once he falls in love with her, there's no more. That's it for the rest of his life. They're mated. And then you get other readers, and they like love my books. They're like, I can't wait for you to write the second story for this character, or I need you to do this, or oh my god, what's happening? And so I love all the feedback, whether it's negative or positive, long as it's honest. And like you actually read the book and
Mhm.
stuff like that. I'll take any feedback, but when I don't like trolls, trolls get on my nerves.
Yep. So, and I feel like that it's good that you take all feedback, because especially as an artist, you have to take all kinds of criticism, because that's the world that we live in as any type of performing or written realm. But
Yeah.
so if you could kind of like have your own kind of like panel or booth at Comic-Con, do you know like which stuff you would bring to sell?
Ooh. Oh. At Comic-Con. Are we talking New York or San Diego? Or
I
both?
mean, we're gonna give you the sky's the limit, you know.
Okay. All right. So we have both of them. I moved
Yeah,
up in the world.
yeah, you're double booking it.
Honestly, I bring everything with me, but I'd bring all my books with me, but I would focus more on like having my action figures and my figurines for my characters to draw people into it and be like, oh, what's this character? Well, hey, this is such and such character. Guess what? It's part of this book. Here you go. This is the book. This is the character. You know, things like that. So I bring everything with me because I do so much, and then the panels and the discussions are always interesting, and there'd be a variety of things I'd want to talk about, since I have a lot of controversial opinions about things, like, but I'll and the state of the industry itself right now is, and since everything is about POCs and
Yes.
the LGT. All right, I'm saying I'm sorry. I don't know all the letters. It's the LGBT elemental P community. I don't want nobody to get mad at me, but it's really a lot of
Yeah.
there's a lot of letters. But that's what they're marketing now. But even with them marketing that, they're looking for specific things within that
Hmm.
that is still not. It's still not new stuff. They're looking
Right.
for a certain type of uh, uh, gay or lesbian or transgender, a certain type of look or a certain type of black character. So they're not really necessarily looking to include. So I would. That's one of the things I would like. I would, if I had a panel, and then I'd talk about my stuff.
Exactly. You'd have to share a table with your buddy Brooklyn, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. You're gonna be right here, so we can sit and we just and horror. So yeah, books and horror. So that's where we do
Books
our.
and horror. That's the table. Um, so you mentioned action figures. Now, is this something that you custom made, for your characters, or did someone else make them?
I only have one that's made from someone else because that's when I was
Okay.
starting. But I make all my custom repaints or Funko Pops and
Oh,
stuff.
awesome.
That's why, like, in the back, all this stuff is going on because I'm working on that one right there. And
Okay.
she's like right here. She's supposed to be like a death dealer angel
Okay.
thing. So she's still in process. I've been working on it for 2 months just because I get easily distracted. But it's I just like to see what's in my head manifest itself because it always amazes me. And then
Hmm.
to watch how I grew, whether it's writing or with my repaints, just how I improved over the years. So I love having my repaints. I love it, and I do it for my friends too. So there's a few of my customs floating around out there on display.
Very, very cool. I kind of like that, because then you kind of get a representation of the character and like an implant in your mind
Mhm.
before you read the book. So
Mhm.
is that kind of your intention, or did it just happen to come that way?
No, it just happened that way. What
Okay.
it was I was trying to look for, because I'm into anime, I'm into all of this stuff. So
Oh
I
yeah.
and every form of media that I like, I want my books in. So then I
Hmm.
was like, oh, I like collecting action figures. Let me see, how people do it. And then I reached out to a few people. They never got back to me. And one thing about me is I'm impatient, and you're not going to tell me what to do.
Understand.
And
Yeah.
so I started looking up how to do it, and that's how I got into it.
Oh,
And then,
wow.
like seeing my characters, from my book description in my head. Although honestly, sometimes it was hard to like get their stuff together. Like I'm like, I know I said this, but do they really look like this?
Yeah.
so so to make sure that my characters are represented right or whatever, I tried different versions. I tried large dolls,
Hmm.
small ones, Funko Pops, and it's just seeing it manifest itself is great. So I love it. A whole bunch of collections.
There you go. uh, Indeed. So, um, do people normally, when they kind of buy your books, do they buy them like one at a time, or are they trying to buy them in a series?
Both, because I
Okay.
normally so when I go to the conventions, a lot of people just buy all of them, or
Hmm.
they'll buy the series. So if they're part of a series, or it depends on what they want and what they're
Right.
into. So people buy one book of each series, and then that's how they start. Or they'll just be like, you know what, I want them all. I'll buy all the Hound series and
Oh,
your
yeah.
favorite series and stuff like that. So it's both.
There you go. Now, would you ever want your books to be later portrayed like on television or film, or do you want them to strictly remain as books?
Oh no, we got to go big or go home.
Yeah, we
So
gotta go.
movies, movies. I want them. Well, I want certain ones. Like I was saying before, my Fae series is
Hmm.
written as an RPG type of romance thing,
Hmm.
and so I want that. I wrote it so it'd be easier for me with the because with all the descriptions in the world, for me to transfer it into like a webtoon or web comic. So therefore, it can get turned into a graphic novel, which eventually, once it gets picked up, I don't know, in the near future, not in the near future, but in the future, it'll be a TV series and it could break down the
Oh,
season.
wow.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I planned for that. I don't know how I'm gonna make it happen, but it's gonna happen. I don't know.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
like because I'm so into horror too, um, my horror story, my two horror stories I'm working on, I'm like, well, how do I like get this together so it can be put into a movie. Now, question is, am I really going to try and shop it or shoot it myself? And knowing
Great.
me, I'll probably take me forever, but I might try to shoot it myself. Like, call up my friends, like, I need you real quick.
Yep.
I got this great
Yeah.
idea. But I definitely want to see them in all types of different media and outlets.
Exactly. You gotta dream big when you live the one life. So
Right? No regrets.
maybe what you could do is, if you do it as TV and film in Brooklyn, you can do a double, Blu-ray or something.
Oh, oh yeah, we're working on it. We've talked about it. We talked about it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I tell you before, I love me some Brooklyn. Like she's one of my favorite authors. And I steal
Exactly.
things from her all the time when she writes. I tell her that all the time. I'm like, what she does in her books is something I wasn't doing until recently. And she'll
Yeah.
give her characters like little quirks, like little weird little quirks. And I'm like, oh, that's so cute. I'm like, I'm stealing
Yeah.
something. So me and Brooklyn, we're planning something. We just gotta talk about it.
Exactly. And for any of those watching, go back and watch the Dan-A-Plooza when I interviewed Brooklyn Ann if you didn't get a chance to watch that. So go back and watch that.
I crashed it.
um, so, um, were you concerned at all, being an author, when the pandemic first hit? Was it going to impact you, or was it just because some people have found more work from it? Did it impact you at all when the quarantine and COVID happened?
No,
Okay.
not my writing because writing is not my main job. I have
Right.
so I'm paralegal, and so nothing really changed other than I had to stay home in regards to my writing and stuff like that. If anything, I wrote more because of my family situation, and I was dealing with depression and my anxiety and all of that. So, not in a negative sense, but I was still writing and stuff like that.
That's good. Yeah, some people have really found a benefit during the whole quarantine and COVID. So I'm glad that it has worked well out in the favors, because sometimes it impacted people in a very
Yeah,
negative way.
definitely, definitely. But I mean, I've had family members who've gotten sick.
Right.
Grateful I didn't lose anybody to it, but they were sick and things like that. But I also I don't have a overly positive mindset, but I looked at COVID as a time for me to pause and
Right.
reevaluate my life, like my entire life, and the whole world got put on pause,
Yes.
like the whole world. And then I'm like, well, what do I want to do? Like, what is it? Like, and reevaluate things that make me happy and stuff. And then also, my grandmother was very ill; she was basically dying, and so I was dealing with that. And then I moved. Thank you. And then I moved. Everything happened within the span of a year. So honestly, right now, since it's the second year I moved into my house, everything's calming down and I can get focused back on it because everything was go, go, go.
Yes.
I didn't have that much time to really focus on actual COVID.
Right. Yeah, and I feel that way for myself. Like, I felt very isolated, and I was sitting, and then I said I always wanted a talk show, and then I came up with this, and then
And your interviews are great. Like I
Thank
watched
you.
a few of them. I try to catch them live when I can.
Thank
Um,
you.
but I've been going back and watching the other ones aside from Brooklyn. I watched Valkyria.
Yeah, Valkyria Rose. Yes.
Yep, I watched that one, and I think another guy was like a stud guy or fitness guy. He was outside at some point. I don't know. I can't remember his name. So I've been going back and watching those as well.
Yeah, it's and definitely there's a lot to watch because I have more than 100 episodes.
You got a lot. You got a lot. I wasn't expecting it. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, people are like, this guy's been busy.
Right, but you don't regret it or nothing. You just
No.
do it. Did you ever like? Because I know some people ask me, do I ever stop and think of like I can't do it? Do you ever like not to become the interviewee, but it's a question I like to ask people. Like, did you ever think that you couldn't do it? Or, like,
I was concerned that people weren't going to gravitate towards it. I thought people weren't gonna watch it first because I had never done it before. Most of my stuff is theater and stage. So I'm more of a performer sometimes, and sometimes a little bit over the top. So like I thought at first that people might not watch, or I may get a little over carried away. And so I really sat down and like I watched like a lot of different like TV hosts, and I said, sometimes with some of these hosts, they make it all about themselves, and I didn't want that to be that, because to me, Dan-A-Plooza is not about Dan. It's about amazing people like yourself, and I want you to succeed and get over. So I think because of the passion and my heart, and because I generally care about people and I generally want everyone to succeed, I felt like that was kind of like the starting formula, and then it just started going and going and going and going and going.
and before you know, you have over 100 episodes. There you go.
I do. And now I have somebody from the UK I'm going to have as a guest. So, and then I have somebody who was interested from Egypt, So
Wow.
it's
Egypt.
like I'm starting to go a little globally. So,
Global. Want to put a little global stamp, little world.
exactly. And it definitely is the time zones is a challenge sometimes, because I'm like, well, where do you live? Because I want to make sure that everyone has different hours, but like I want to make sure that I'm interviewing you at a good time. I don't want to interview at 2 a.m. and you're trying to sleep. I want to make sure that people are good. But people really seem to enjoy it. They like that my interviews are only a certain length of time, and that we don't go because sometimes I've seen people go for an hour, hour and a half, and I feel like sometimes when people are first starting, you can extract too much and you can leave people like brain dead.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure that there was enough time for each guest to get recognition and that they weren't felt like it was like exhaustion. I wanted it to be nice and easy and where people could follow along. So that's what I try to do.
You're doing a good job. You're doing a good job.
Thank you. So yeah, so definitely tune in, and we have like I think 4 shows in October, so lots of fun stuff. We have a cosplay panel. We're gonna have the guests that I was supposed to have last week. We have maybe even somebody from the movie Scream. So we're
the new one or one of the old ones?
The old one from '96.
Ooh. Who is it? Randy?
Sometimes people are like, I'm like, no, it's not Randy. Some people are like, Nev Campbell, Dan, go for it. I'm like, no, it's not that either. I'm like, if I had the power, I would. But no. I've been in talks with Nancy Ritter, and Nancy was in the bathroom with Nev Campbell with the cheerleader, and they talked smack about her before Ghostface attacks her in the bathroom. And she lives in New York, and she has expressed interest. It's just she's been in the convention and very busy scenes, and she's been doing films, so it's just waiting back and forth. But she has expressed great interest in this show, and very wonderful lady. So I look forward to if we can make that happen. But let's get back to you.
I totally sidetracked. I do that a lot. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I always like to, because sometimes people ask me questions, and I don't mind asking that, but it's not the Dan show just because Dan's in the title. It's about the awesome Layla Omorose, and we need to talk more about her.
That's right.
I'm glad, because I am like, I always am like, am I going to say it correctly or incorrectly, and like, I had one guest, and her name was Aline Isley, and I would just say Aylin or Elin, I would just say it wrong. And by the third time I had her as a guest, I finally got it right, But sometimes when you have those names, sometimes I would cheat. I'd be like, no, I didn't say that. Hold on, and I would try and short it, and everything. Or I'd be like, her, I had her last, I would just try to cheat, but no, it's very important to always get the name of the guest correct, because you're the star of the show. I'm just the guide. So that's how I feel. So did you have any favorite authors growing up?
Oh yeah, they changed as I got older. So when I was younger, I probably shouldn't even been reading these books, but it was the hood. So my favorite author was Zane, and actually a lot of my the way I write sex scenes in my book actually started from Zane, because they're detailed, but they're not. You know how people can be graphic like that.
Yeah,
graphic,
not over the top. Yeah.
No, so I try to avoid it, but sometimes you gotta slip something in there real quick. So it started with her, and then as I honestly, once I got back to college, and because English is my major, it was forensics, and that did not work out. And then it became more literature based, because I actually ancient literature and foreign literature is my favorite, and so Markumi is my favorite. And then of course then we have Stephen King. He's one of my favorites. Pet Sematary is my all-time favorite book. And then I like for my actual genre, it's J.R. Ward, and Sherilyn Kean, Gina Showalter, and Larissa Ione. And I've met everyone except for J.R. Ward, and they've been super nice. Yeah, Larissa Ione, it was so crazy, because I met her and she remembered who I was. And you know, when you meet your favorites, you don't expect them to remember who you are. And she had got some hate mail, and I had just responded about professing my undying love to her. And so, like a year or two later, when I actually started writing, I went to a panel she was on and introduced myself, and she's like, "Oh, I remember you." And then, you know, she like gave me her Facebook and stuff like that. So that was great. But yeah. So those are some of my favorites. I have a ton because I read way too much. You know.
Just got I'll give you one more shout out, Nathan. I know it's your birthday today. Happy birthday, Nathan. Thanks for watching.
Happy birthday,
Nathan. So when I think of some of my favorite authors growing up, I don't know if you had any of the similar ones, but R.L. Stein was one of my favorites.
Oh, we're going back. Yeah.
R.L.
Stein. I still love Goosebumps. I watch it to this day. I will throw on Night of the Living Dummy.
Slappy.
Okay. I'm pretty sure that kind of inspired Chucky. So yeah, R.L. Stein, Are You Afraid of the Dark was a good one.
Yes.
I read a lot of Judy Blume because who wasn't reading Judy Blume back then? And oh man, there's somebody else. I'm forgetting somebody. It's like 3 really big ones that they made you read at Scholastic. Like Scholastic, you had to read them. They were everywhere.
Mine was The Outsiders. We had to read that. That was a major.
That one I never read. My friends read it. I've never read that one.
Oh yeah. Called me Pony Boy.
How's it
going? But I do have an autograph copy of one of R.L. Stein's books, and then I met Stephen King's son, Joe Hill.
Joey Hill, right? Joe Hill.
Yes.
Yeah, I like him too.
He told the story of him and his dad driving through McDonald's, and I guess they were doing some kind of horror thing, and so he still had makeup and like I think like the blood or something, and you know it's normal to take a kid to McDonald's afterwards, and so some people thought some issue was going on with Stephen King, and so they got extra stuff in the Happy Meal and everything.
Trying to make up for it. Here you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's some extra toys.
But I like Joe Hill too. I was reading the Black. I've never met. Have I met? No, I never met him. Because I was trying to read the Black Phone before the movie came out, and I didn't make it. I didn't make it. I'm on the story. I thought it was just one book. Turned out it was a collection of stories. I'm like, all right, I'm not just going to jump. I'm gonna read, and I'm at the story before the Black Phone. So that's one of Joe Hill's books. I'm currently reading, although it's kind of put down right now.
I know. And then there was these books when I was younger, and it was called Choose Your Own Adventure, and you would read them, and it would say, if you want to know what happened to your character, turn to either to page 56 or 13.
Oh, I had a few of those.
Yeah.
My character died. Kind of picked the right choices.
Yeah, and sometimes they'd be like, "Oh no, you fell down a shark hole." No, I didn't. I didn't go to that page. I went to 13.
It didn't really happen. That's not real. That's not real.
So I always remembered I liked those books because they made you think or something. Like I would start reading, and I go, "Nope, I did the other door," and I would go to the other page and read that.
Like, no, maybe I should have went to the other door. No, I'll go this one.
Yeah. And I go, oh, I died either way. So anything else you want to promote on Dan-A-Plooza before we wrap it up?
Just be on the lookout for my upcoming title, Sarah from Infernum. It's either releasing late this year or January of next year. And also my short story Crimson Noir, which is actually going to be released in February. I don't really have any releases this year.
All right.
And and add me on all social medias. I'm very sarcastic and like
make sure to pick up those books on Amazon.
Oh yeah, pick them up, read them, enjoy the steamy sex scenes, especially that threesome with the Black Prince.
Read some saucy reads. Okay. As I like to say. All right. So I'd like to thank my guest, Layla Omorose, for being on Dan-A-Plooza. Everyone, keep watching. Actor, producer James Quinn will be the final guest on Dan-A-Plooza for September, and then we'll have Dan-A-Plooza October show. Everyone take care and have a good night.